Now and then, we come across some unbelievable stories where some people succeeded to survive events that seem impossible to survive. These people that you're about to see have endured mind-boggling injuries and disasters. They've lived in fear for weeks, and sometimes even months. Without further ado, keep watching to see the luckiest people who survived the impossible. Lindsay Harding. Lindsay Harding was about to try skydiving during her trip to California with her friends. However, after jumping out of the plane at a shocking height of 8,500 feet, Lindsay experienced every person's worst fear. Her parachute got tangled in the reserve. Lindsay fell for 40 seconds at 70 miles per hour until she eventually hit the ground. Everyone expected her to be dead, but she only sustained 2 fractured ribs, a punctured lung, a cracked nose, and a broken tooth. When the doctors were asked how she survived such an accident, they said it was probably because she lost consciousness while falling and her body was relaxed when they hit the ground. Gursky. The US tourist Chris Gursky was vacationing in Switzerland in November 2018, and he decided to try out some hang gliding. Sadly, his pilot did not correctly attach him to the flying element, and Gursky had to endure a life-threatening situation while the pilot tried to bring everything under control. For 3 minutes, that possibly seemed like a lifetime. The auto parts supervisor from Florida had it all captured on film. Luckily for Gursky, the pilot saved him. Gursky broke his wrist in the fall, and he tore his bicep from holding onto the bars so tightly. However, he survived. I remember looking down and thinking, this is it. I was losing grip with my right hand, which was holding onto a strap on the pilot's right shoulder. He was trying to make a beeline to the landing field as he knew what the situation could bring. He recalled in an interview with Daily Mail. Ralston. The story about Ralston will certainly make you appreciate life a little more. He spent 127 hours where his life was in danger. In 2003, Ralston went hiking near Robber's Roost in Utah. He was an enthusiastic climber and hiker. However, near Blue John Canyon, Ralston slid and a boulder became dislodged. The 800-pound boulder caught his right arm, binding it to the wall of a wide, tight canyon. So, as you can imagine, he had no choice. He told the Telegraph how he realized early on that he was going to have to cut his arm off to get free, but there was also resistance. At first, he did not want to do it, but as we said, he had no choice. Ralston used his body weight to roughly bend his arm until the boulder snapped his forearm. He then used the attachment from his hydration pack, a bendy rubber hose that you use to suck water out of the pack, as a temporary tourniquet, and started sawing and cutting through the left cartilage, skin, and muscles with his tool. The whole thing took more than an hour, and he did this on the 6th day of pain and suffering. But the most important thing is that he survived. He was also in the production of a film based on his suffering, 127 hours. Today, he remains to do challenging outdoor sports, assist hikers with disabilities, and work for wilderness safety. He's married and has a son. Sullivan. Do you guys think 7 is a lucky number? Well, Sullivan probably would have disagreed. The Shenandoah National Park Ranger was, believe it or not, struck by lightning an unbelievable number of times. And if this story sounds skeptical and unbelievable, it is true, since Guinness World Records was able to verify them enough to give the Ranger the most lightning strikes survived title. Throughout his life, Sullivan was struck by lightning 7 times, and he survived all of them. Oh, and just so you know, the odds of getting struck by lightning are about 1 in 280 million. The odds of getting struck by lightning 7 times are 4.15 in 100 and a whole heck of a lot of zeros after it. It was not a bolt of lightning that killed Sullivan, it was a bullet. He died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in 1983 at the age of 71. According to some rumors, a bolt of lightning struck his grave once. To Tomu Yamaguchi. Around 260,000 people survived the atomic bomb attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II, but Japanese engineer Tomu Yamaguchi's story was one worth telling after he survived the 2 bombs. Tomu Yamaguchi was preparing to leave Hiroshima when the atomic bomb fell. At about 8:15 that morning, Yamaguchi was going to Mitsubishi's shipyard one last time when he heard the drone of an aircraft overhead. He then saw an American B-29 bomber soar over the city and drop a small object attached to a parachute. All of a sudden, something happened. Something that Yamaguchi described as resembling the lightning of a huge magnesium flare. However, Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, on a visit on account of his employer Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. But that day, an American B-29 bomber also flew over the city, dropping a small object. It was a uranium gun-type bomb that created a blaze of light comparable to the lighting of a huge magnesium flare as soon as it touched the ground. What followed was a disaster. Yamaguchi had no idea that he was to endure another atomic bomb that was also awaiting him in Nagasaki. He survived to tell his amazing tale. "I thought the mushroom cloud had followed me from Hiroshima," he later told the newspaper The Independent. Well, that's one lucky person. Do you guys consider yourself lucky? If yes, tell us why. If no, also tell us why. Oh, and don't forget to smash that like button if you haven't done so already. It means a lot to us. 16 plane crash survivors. In October of 1972, on February the 13th, an Uruguayan Air Force twin turboprop Fairchild FH-227D was hovering above the Andes with a rugby team from Montevideo, Uruguay, on board to play a match in Santiago, Chile. The most unfortunate thing happened as the plane crashed into the mountains. 12 people passed in the crash, and another 11 ate in an avalanche. But 60 people were rescued, but they were rescued 2 months later. You probably wonder how they survived. How did they go without food throughout such low temperatures? Well, they had to do what they thought was their last chance of surviving. With razor blades and broken glass, they cut the flesh off their frozen friends and ate it. As one of the survivors put it, it was a final goodbye to innocence. However, they did survive, and the difficulty they went through was later made into the movie Alive. Truman Duncan. This train switchman had fallen off the front of a moving train car and was pulled under the train. He was literally cut in half as he was left without both legs and a kidney. Still, he was somehow able to call 911 on his cell phone and lasted another 45 minutes as he waited and endured the 23 surgeries that happened after the event. The world's longest fall from an airplane. Can you guys imagine how it feels surviving the longest fall without a parachute? You might think that this is straight out of a movie, but it happened in real life. It happened to a stewardess who, no one knows how, survived a horror blow on an airplane. Vesna Volkovic endured a fall over 33,000 feet on January 26, 1972, after an incendiary device planted by the Utaše, Croatian went off. She was the only one who survived the accident, and she was wedged by the fuselage by a food cart. What's even weirder, she was never supposed to be on the flight. The reason she was there is because of a mix-up with another stewardess of the same name. After the accident, she was in a coma for a month and spent 1 year in hospital. However, she lived her life until the age of 66 and passed away in 2016. Holly Dunn. Angel Resendez was a terrible person who had already killed 6 people. What followed was even worse. Holly Dunn and her boyfriend Chris Mayer have just left a party and they were talking near some train tracks. Resendez then went over to the couple and threatened them with an ice pick. He then killed Chris Mayer using a 50-pound rock to the head. Holly Dunn went through so many struggles as she survived rape, an ice pick to the neck, smashed eye socket, and broken jaw. Out of the 15 people Resendez murdered over 15 years, this woman was the only survivor. Frank Silac. If we're about to choose the luckiest person on earth, it would most definitely be this Croatian music teacher. He survived a train wreck, a plane crash, 3 flaming cars, and 2 bus crashes, in the process becoming the most luckiest and unluckiest man alive. He survived 7 terrible accidents. Can you believe it? But that's not all. After all of this, he purchased his first ever lottery ticket and won the equivalent of just over $1 million. Then he gave every penny to family and friends as, according to him, his family and wife's health were most important. He also had 6 previous marriages. Which of these stories amazed you the most? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you enjoyed our video, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss any of our videos. As always, thanks for watching, guys.